Okay, welcome to the Tech Entrepreneurs Nebraska podcast. I'm LaShonna Dorsey with the It's Urban Foundation, today representing the Nebraska Tech Collaborative, where I serve as its executive director. And today I have a special guest co-host.
Yes, who walked into co-hosting just a couple minutes ago.
That's right.
My name is Hunter Traynor. I serve as the Executive Vice President for Legislation and Policy at the State Chamber of Commerce, the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Honored to be co-hosting with you today.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
I thought I was
Absolutely.
co-hosting.
No.
Oh, okay.
A special guest host.
Special guest host.
I'm sorry, guest.
Guest. See, I almost got you.
You
there.
got me.
I'm Eric Pace. Thank you for having me. I work for Cox Communications and I'm the head of AI there.
Wonderful. So just a little bit of background. Can you tell us about yourself, Eric, like how you got to this position and all of those things in like a 1 minute version?
Yeah, I think the short answer is before Cox, I worked in big consulting and I had a very wide career, generally applied skills. And when I got to Cox, I also served in a variety of roles. And then at some point about a year and a half ago, me and another guy started to express some interest in forming an AI council. So because we started to see the need to at least start to govern some of the stuff that we were doing. And then as that evolved, whether it was interest or ignorance, I'm not sure yet. Our leadership team came to me and said, "Hey, we're going to start focusing on this more intentionally, and so we're going to create an organization. We'd like to put it under you." And then 6 or 7 months ago, they took all of my responsibilities away and said, "You are just going to do AI."
So when you were getting started at Cox with this artificial intelligence journey, we'll call it, what was the first sort of operational rollout that you all handled internally? What did you learn from it, and how is it now informing what technologies Cox is looking at in the future?
Great question. I would say we probably bifurcated it because at the time I had two leaders put in place for at least 2/4 of my, or 1/2 of my organization, one on the applied research side and another on the core dev and architecture side. And we chose at the beginning to focus on responsible AI as a technical capability. And so a lot of the initial things that we did focused on ensuring that whatever we did in the future was going to be done or built or used in a responsible way, meaning we wanted to put guardrails in to ensure that the things would be harmless or compliant or accountable or governed, et cetera. And then on the other side, because we're a connectivity company, we have a lot of data centers and we took advantage of the infrastructure that we had. We got our own GPU farms put in, and the applied research guys got excited because we got to deploy our own models on our own GPUs, and they really got to build themselves a playground. And we've started to build capabilities on top of that. And it's really starting to inform not only where we can go, but what we can do almost extra safely because we own the infrastructure and everything on it and nothing leaves.
Exciting. You're a good co-host, by the way. Just
Thank you.
High five.
It's only been 1 minute.
I know.
I'm kidding, Hunter.
Amazing. I looked over there. I'm like, it hasn't? Anyway, so 3 of the topics we wanted to talk about today were like some of the emerging threats, some of the current trends, and then what things people should be excited about. So wherever you want to start with that.
We can go in that order.
Okay.
I think on the threat side, I think the threats and what people are excited about are almost the same thing, right? Because so much is so available. It is so democratized and you almost need no skills. Like I was telling somebody earlier today that hackers no longer need to hack. They just got to ask. And it's a problem, right? It's a real problem. And the conversation ultimately evolved to this notion that when, the prince used to send you a poorly formed email and he told you that he has $10 million waiting for you in a bank, just give me your account number, you could tell it was a scam. But now these guys have AI and it's writing well-formed emails and it's no longer talking about the bank account. And so the social engineering aspects of what hackers used to do is about to get real. And I think it goes well beyond deepfakes, right? Because it doesn't matter when you don't need a picture. You're just talking to someone on the phone or other.
Right.
And so the evolution and the expansion, the rapidly changing pace of these things is going to equally arm both sides of the conversation. And so, I tell people all the time, number one rule, don't make assumptions, don't trust. Verify everything, not just in terms of what you use, but when it gives you answers, don't just turn it in, read it first and make sure that you like it. But again, on the other side of that, it is so exciting to know that, we were talking yesterday, things that weren't even remotely possible and even unfathomable to believe 5 years ago are now not only doable, but you can do them in a day for less than $500.
On the point of threats, I saw the new Mission Impossible movie on Wednesday.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet.
So I'm coming in with a bit of a AI aftermath bias. The whole villain is this like super intelligent AI. It takes over all of our cyberspace. But, in thinking and reading about it, I tend to lean towards the notion that AI is just a tool. And when I think of a screwdriver, if I think of a hammer, I have a pretty value neutral judgment about those tools. I suppose if I hit my nail or hit my finger trying to hammer a nail, my value judgment about the hammer changes momentarily. But do you tend to agree? I think you alluded to it just there, that artificial intelligence is probably value neutral. And then depending on what we're using it for, that's when we need to be either concerned or thrilled. Do you think that's fair?
I think it's fair. I think, my least favorite question, my team as well, I think, is when we get questions about the singularity. Who knows, right? And so until then, until some indeterminate point in the future, I think the position that you've just stated is fairly well accurate. And it also represents, I think, a lot of the problem because just like a hammer is no good unless you have a nail.
Yeah.
I think people walk around with AI as a tool looking for nails. And that's why they get stuck in these cycles of POCs that ultimately go nowhere because they've just got it. They want to use it and they just find something that is remotely close to what they might do with it. And then they realize, oh, this is not going to go, and it's not going to be successful. It's not going to go anywhere. No one's going to use it, et cetera. Versus the other side, which is finding a legitimate problem to solve, understanding the applicability of AI to that problem, and then thinking about what happens after you build it.
Yeah.
Then you find success in taking POCs to production and getting value out of them isn't that hard.
Right. Why do we do it, not how do we do it?
That's right.
Yeah, a good point, because it's like the early days. I come from the pre-internet days. And I remember when none of us were like, we would never buy anything on the internet. Why would anybody do that? What a weird thing. We rather call into QVC. That was the thing. And now, what? That's the truth.
Did you ever buy something during the day?
I don't remember.
Okay. I think only people buy on QVC in the middle of the night.
What now?
There's no way people buy stuff if it's not 3 a.m.
What the hell's QVC? I'm sorry,
Oh my God.
Is this like the show where the price is on the screen?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna need,
it's that. It's like
between Oprah and Maury. What was his name?
Yeah, Maury Povich. Like basically all day long, there were ads for things that you could call an 800 number on and talk to a person like me on the other side and order your thing, and then I'd upsell you.
We only have 10 left.
What now?
We only have 10 left, so call in. Call an
right.
order. We're running out.
And now those still exist, but when you call, it's AI on the phone that's like, hey, what do you need?
Right. I forgot what the point was. Oh, yes. That we just were slow adopters early on. And now we're just like, oh, ChatGPT, cool. I'll just try to do everything with it. It's like my tool for everything, like you said before. And so it's interesting to help people shift from that mindset of, yes, it's a great tool, generative AI, amazing, but use it when it makes sense, right?
Sure. Here's what I love. Here's what I love about how the conversation is evolving, at least in my perspective. Because you go back 6 months ago and two things were happening. One, everybody wanted to use the word agentic and no one knew what it meant. And two, everybody was walking around with this tool and looking for a nail and disappointed when they couldn't find one or they found the wrong nail.
Right.
And now you walk into conversations like the one we were having yesterday morning with a bunch of local, tech or business leaders, and they're all asking questions about process and governance. They're all asking questions about, well, what do you need to think about before I start using it, et cetera. And so it's happening faster than I thought it might, right?
Yeah.
People are starting to come around and ask the right questions before they start. So I'm optimistic.
That's good. Me too.
So you work, you're thinking about enterprise use cases for AI, and at least reading the journal the last couple of weeks, it's shareholder call after shareholder call. AI is going to upset the apple cart, displace workers. I think a little bit of that you can read in that companies are positioning themselves based on what the trends are in their respective marketplace. They want to demonstrate to shareholders that they're making sound investments. If you're an entry-level white-collar worker now or will be in the next couple of years, what would your advice be as to how to leverage artificial intelligence to not make yourself at risk of displacement if in fact those, calls about that possibility are true. I'm not quite convinced that they are. I think work will just change, but what's your opinion? Is there stock that should be placed in that? How are you thinking about that?
I think it's the one thing that we've been saying for a while is that AI is not going to take your job, but someone who uses AI will.
Right.
And so there's probably a lot of truth to that still to this day.
Yeah.
And the thing we walk around encouraging people to do most is learn by using. There's a plethora of things that you can do, free courses online to take. You can also ask ChatGPT how to, what my learning path should be, depending on what my interests are, depending on what I want to accomplish. Like just use it as a general thought partner. You have 1,000 grad level interns with a 130 IQ sitting on your shoulder that studied every discipline at every university in the world.
Right.
And now all of a sudden when you have to do anything, ask first and just get perspective and then decide what you want to do to it. And then have it critique your work and then ask it what you're missing. And then ask it how you should approach delivering whatever you've just created to whoever you're going to deliver it to.
That's super smart. Like what a great way to right now leverage it and just become a 1+ individual is kind of how I've seen it.
Absolutely. 1+ is a great way to think about it.
So we're out of time. I just knew this was going to go so fast, but good news is the state chamber and Cox will be having another conversation that you all should check out. I'll share a link to it later.
Thank you.
But thank you both for being here. Thanks for just jumping in a co-host with me. Appreciate it. Eric, always a pleasure.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Yeah.